Howdy everybody, it's Amy from Amy Sparkly Diamond Painting, and I have a slightly different type of video for you today. This is a bit more crafty, but it is diamond painting. It will include a little bit of scrapbooking, maybe a little bit of cross-stitch adjacent stuff, but definitely some diamond painting. So I've been asked to do a review of this Qfun laminator. So the company is Qfun. This is available on Amazon. I will have the link below. But I've been asked to open and review this laminator, which I thought was a little unusual. But they had seen some laminated stuff on my channel, both through junk journaling and cross-stitch, or actually early diamond painting videos that I had done at the start of my channel. So I said, sure, we'll give it a shot. So this is going to be in different parts. I'm going to first do an unboxing of this, and then we're going to do a little bit of crafting with it to see how this laminator works. So I'm going to move it out of the way because the other things I have here to show you, I've unboxed this on my channel before, but this is a Christmas diamond painting stamp set. So these are stamps that you use with the stamp pad. That's what I got this here for. And you stamp these onto paper and then color them in and do diamond painting on them to make these different Christmas shapes. Well, I'm going to create diamond painting canvases that are laminated that you put the diamonds on so that they're a little bit more sturdy. We're going to do double-sided ones. We're going to test laminating some tissue paper, some wrapping paper, things that we can do double-sided, and see how these work to make some laminated diamond painting ornaments. So we do have that set there. And then another thing that I've done before is use lamination to come up with a diamond painting canvas using Heaven and Earth Designs cross-stitch patterns. So this is a freebie, so that's why I'm able to show it here. So this is a freebie pattern that's available. It's called Forest Maiden. It's available on Heaven and Earth Designs. It is designed by the owner of the website. And we're going to turn this into a diamond painting canvas by laminating it and putting some glue over the top. I'm not going to go into the details of the process, but we are going to test the laminator with this. I have a couple pages of that. And then this laminator is both for heat items and also non-heat or cold lamination process. But in order to do the cold lamination, you do need self-sealing pouches or already adhesive laminating pouches, because the heat is normally what sticks the two pieces of plastic together. But this says no machine necessary, but we're going to use the rollers to try out the non-heat method. And then I have a cross-stitch pattern here. These are not waterproof. If you've ever gotten these budget-friendly cross stitches, you know that if you get water on your canvas, like I'm doing here, they smear and you lose your pattern. And you don't want to do that when you're cross stitching. See how I've messed that up with just a little bit of water? I had my dog accidentally spill a drink that I had in my hand that got all over a pattern and messed it up. So I'm going to laminate this and test out how this kind of fabric or paper does in the laminator to see if we can protect our cross-stitch pattern there. And then another thing I've always wanted to do is make bookmarks. So I cheated a little bit. I got these from my local craft stores. These are already made little junk journal type bookmarks that we're just going to laminate. And specimen cards are another thing I really like to do, where you have like a butterfly sticker or plant sticker inside a frame. And I've had a lot of trouble making those, so I'm going to see if I can do it with the laminator and make it much easier. So that's what we're going to try. So I'm going to do this in different parts. First, I'm going to do an unboxing of the laminator, then we're going to plug it in and test it to do some of the diamond painting stuff and laminate some of these items. I might go kind of quick because we don't want this video to go too long, but I might do another video or two with some other ideas using this in the very near future. So again, this is the Qfun laminator. It is a cold and thermal laminator. Has 9 different functions. It comes with some goodies in there, including a paper cutter, a corner puncher, a hole puncher, and some other neat features in there, and several laminating pouches. It says the preheat time is about 1 minute, so that's actually pretty quick. So join me on this crazy crafting adventure. So as I said in the intro, there are several moving parts in this video and several pieces that I'm going to be putting together, but we're going to first start with an unboxing of this laminator. So this is the Qfun laminator. This is a box that came in here. Well, it first came in a shipping box, and it did come from China. So it took a couple weeks to get here, but you can buy these on Amazon. So I'm going to have the link below. But this one to test out came from the Qfun company in China, and they asked me if I could do a review of this. So this is an A3 size, that's a paper, less than or equal to A3, that's the width there. And it is a cold and thermal laminator, meaning it works hot or cold, so if you have some things that are sensitive to heat that you want to protect, you can still use this. It says enhance color and contrast of images. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but we'll find out when we get into it. Fast sealing, flat overmolding, tightly glued, easy to use. But what's cool about this one, especially for junk journalers, and why it costs maybe just a little bit more than the cheapest laminators that you can find at the store, is that we get several accessories with this. And some of these are really useful for junk journaling, like the corner rounder. Buying one of those alone on Amazon can be pretty pricey. So that's a corner punch. It helps you round the corners of things, makes your laminating look a lot neater, and also gets rid of the pointy edges, which can be pokey and hurt. It also has a hole puncher and iron ring. We're going to find out about that. Not completely sure about that yet. And it does have a paper cutter, which is also a good deal and very useful when you're cutting the plastic and trimming it and all that good stuff. So this is the model SL888. And let's see what else we got here. 3-speed cruise position adjustment. So we've got some of the controls showing over here. Hot laminating preheat is only 1 minute approximately. That's really quick. And sealing speed 450 millimeters per minute. So it moves through kind of fast. So we have a mode switch here for cold, 3 millimeter, 3 millimeter, and 5 millimeter. That's the thickness of the laminating material that you are using. You can buy both. 3 millimeters, of course, is a lot cheaper, but the 5 millimeters gives much more protection, but a little more expensive, but it's a little thicker. So you have settings here to change it between those. And then, of course, the on-off switch. And we have, I can't really show it very easily here. We have specifications here on the side of the box. This weighs 1.7 kilograms. And the hole punch diameter is 6 millimeters. The rounding corner size is 4 millimeters. I'm dumping my trash can over. I keep a little trash can on my table for my diamond painting mess. And 2 rollers, max lamination thickness. This is one thing I was curious about. So the max thickness that you can put between the rollers is 0.6 millimeters. So I was curious about completed diamond paintings, but that's probably too thick for this. I don't want to do any damage to it. But as I said in the intro, one of the things I'll be doing is showing you how to make diamond painting canvases with this, which is something I have done before with a cheaper laminator that I have. So I'm curious to see how this measures up to what I've done before. So let's go ahead and open this box and see how this is packaged. So this is the first time I'm looking at this. I have not opened it before. Ooh, that's pretty thick here. Wow. There's a lot in there. This is a heavy package of laminating material, and if you've ever purchased the laminating covers, they are a bit expensive. So we have the user manual and several sizes of laminating pouches in here, and like I said, it's pretty heavy. I'll have to see how many are in there. So it's already a pretty good deal with that. Okay, let's pull it out here. So it is protected with the foam. Let's get our box out of the way. And we also have plastic over it. And we have the cord that is twisted here with the twist tie. We're going to be testing it here in a little bit, so I'll just probably cut that. I think I twisted too much that it went the opposite direction. So let's see what we got. We got this really pretty color here. It looks like a purple color here, purple metallic. Isn't that pretty? So here we have the different size pages marked on here, A3, A4, A5, A6, and if you've never used the international sizes for pages, that should help you be able to see what that means. So these standard, like we use in the US letter size, would be smaller. So A3 looks like landscape mode here. So yes, US paper landscape is about the width of that. So that's pretty wide. We have the controls here, just as it showed in the box. 3mm, 5mm, mode switch, on, off, and then 3 LED lights there to show you which setting you have it on and probably to indicate when it's hot enough. So usually these things will be red when it's warming up and then turn green typically when they're ready. So we've got all our warning labels here. And let's see, here is our paper cutter. So everything stores nicely inside here. That's pretty cool. So we have standard paper cutter here. It's got different angle measurements as well as inch, it looks like here, 1-2 inches, and the centimeters and millimeters as well. So this flips up. This is the little place where you cut. So you put your paper in and you can see clearly where that line is and just go across. So I don't know if these are replaceable, though. It's always nice if you can find one that is replaceable. If you push down, you'll see that the little cutter, the little knife to cut the paper, pokes through. So it would be nice if you can replace those because they do get dull over time. But that looks like a very nice little portable cutter. And then in here, this looks like our corner rounder. Let's take a quick look at this. So after you laminate, of course, they have the pokey edges. So this is a corner rounder punch. You stick your paper in there, and I'm not sure if I have a piece of paper handy here. So you stick it in there and punch, and there you can see it'll punch a nice rounded corner without removing too much paper. That's actually a pretty good rounder because it doesn't cut a lot off the paper. Then this looks like a hole punch. Let's see here. It does come with a spare cutter for the paper cutter. That's cool. That's what I was talking about. So that'll slide in and you can replace the cutter when the other one gets dull. And then little bitty baby hole punch. Isn't that cute? And it's got a little cover here to hold the little circles after you punch. So nice little baby hole punch here. Let's see. Oh yeah, nice and sharp. Very good. And then metal rings here. Oh, I think I see. If you're a cross stitcher, you may be familiar with these on a larger scale. But if you make laminated cards for referencing, like instructions or guides or something like that, these will hold those together. So these are just rings used for holding cards that you laminate. So you can picture like a first aid series of cards. I've seen those for like camping, where you laminate the cards after you print them out and you poke a little hole in them and then stick them on one of these rings to keep track of them without losing them. So that's pretty cool. You get 3 different sizes of those. Interesting. So that's what's hiding on the inside here. I like the storage for that. Turn that upside down. And the corner punch also has a thing to hold the punch parts afterwards. So, and there. So you don't lose your little cutting tool. So that is what's on the inside. And you put the paper in this way and it's going to come out that way once it's laminated. And we do have something here that I'll have to look up. Shows ABS, and that's some sort of switch here. I think that's a release, so if something gets jammed and stuck in there, if you push that, it loosens up the grip there on the rollers and will let you pull something out. I believe that's what that's for. So really pretty, really nicely put together. Love the accessories and the labels, so let's give it a try. We'll be on to the next part shortly. Alright, so first I'm going to start with a very simple project here, and that's basically laminating some paper, but this is to make a diamond painting pattern out of a cross stitch pattern. So I haven't turned this on yet. You'll see here it's not turned on, but I'm plugging it in right now. We'll see how quickly this comes to the right temperature. So I plug it in and we turn it on, and you see that the light is red here. So it is starting to heat up, and we have different settings here. We have the 3 millimeter, I always want to say milliliter for some reason, and the 5. So I'm going to choose the 3 because I think that is the size of the pouches that came with this laminator. So you see the light is blinking, meaning it is not quite ready yet. So we're going to set it here. Move some of this other stuff out of the way so you can see it here. So we're going to wait until that turns solid. So in the meantime, I printed this out from the Heaven and Earth Designs website. I just printed 2 pages of this pattern as an example. And this is, again, a freebie pattern that you can go get yourself right now. And I printed this at 100.8% scale, which is about the right size for the squares of diamonds that I have, which are Art Dot diamonds. And so these will actually fit on this exactly. So I printed 2 pages because I'm going to show you how you can turn this into a diamond painting canvas. So that's probably the easiest thing, is basically laminating 2 pieces of paper together, but then I'm going to separate them, and then we're going to put some double-sided adhesive or sticky glue on there to turn it into a diamond painting canvas. And then you can use whatever drills you have in your collection to start diamond painting on this. So I see the light has already turned solid green there. Oops, I accidentally hit the power button there. So now it's going to blink again. So let's see, it's getting ready. In the meantime, I'm going to set this up by taking one of the pouches here that came with it, and this is a pretty thick package of pouches. So it came with a few different sizes here. We have the small pouches, and I think it's like 10 of each. Here, let me count. Yeah, it's 10 of each. So we have the 10 small pouches for like probably 4 by 6 centimeter or inch, 4 by 6 inch photos. Then we have the larger, like 5 by 7 size here, 10 of those. And then we have the full size here. I'm going to pull one out. And those are the A3 size, I guess, I think in European measurements. So I'm going to place these back to back like this so that the pattern is facing outward on both sides, and then I'm going to put this inside the pouch. So I'm going to open this up here. There are 2 pieces. Well, it's really 1 piece, but it's folded in the middle. So you open it up and stick what you want to laminate inside there. Get it all nice and even. There's not a whole lot of extra border on this particular page. You see there's a little bit of border, maybe a few millimeters on each side, but that's perfectly fine. And then I'm going to stick it in here because I got a green light, and let it feed through. I'm not pushing, I'm just holding onto it, and I'm letting it go right through the laminator. And it heated up pretty quick here. There is the exact speed listed in the manual, which is a pretty small, quick read manual to go through. And it's coming out the back side here. So it's just about done. And you can kind of feel it when it's done, and it pops right out. And you probably want to let it cool for just a minute before you mess with it too much. So now we have a laminated pattern on both sides. So it's still kind of warm, but you can see it's on there good. It's not coming apart, it's not coming out of the sides. Now this is where the corner cutter and your other cutter that come with this can be useful. So I can cut off just the end here. I'm gonna move this for just a second, because instead of just cutting the end, I'm gonna cut a little closer in and cut off that bottom extra laminating part. So I'm just gonna cut it across, and I missed there at the very edge, so I'll use some scissors here. Now I've cut off the part that was sealed here, which means that I can split this open, which is actually what I want to do in this case. So I'm gonna cut up the sides as well, because I want to split this apart, because we're gonna turn this into 2 pieces of diamond painting canvas. Cut across the top here, and then the side, while still leaving a little bit of a border. I don't want to cut all the way to the diamond painting area, because I do want a little bit of a border for taping these together. Okay, so here we go. And the reason I did that is because these are now thinner. They're laminated on one side, but the back is plain. And now I can cut one side very close and leave the other side not so close. And we got the gray line here for the pattern overlap from one page to the other. So I'm going to very carefully cut this one right up against the border, the one that doesn't have the gray overlap. And this is about the middle of the pattern. I actually picked this fairy lady's face and hair that had the flowers in it for the example here. But I'm just cutting very carefully right along that line. There we go. And now, well, I would normally use double-sided adhesive. I can see where those match up. So those first 3 gray lines are the last 3 lines on this page here. So I can line them up. And I will put double-sided adhesive on the back and stick these 2 together to create this diamond painting canvas. But since I don't have double-sided adhesive handy, I am going to use my trusty old fabric tack or Fabrifix glue here, because it works really good on just about anything. So you can see what's going on here. But normally I would use double-sided adhesive, but this glue does give me a little bit more of a chance to adjust and move it around. So there we go. Push it down, and you have just barely a little bitty ridge or line where the 2 are joined together. But for the most part, it's pretty smooth, so at any kind of distance, that tiny little ridge is not going to show up. So now I have a diamond painting canvas background here. I can make sure it's pushed down on this side as well. And then the final step will be to make this sticky so that I can stick the diamonds on it. Now, why would you want to laminate it? Well, the lamination helps the glue from soaking in, and it also just gives you a little bit sturdier piece here to put the diamonds on without being too thick. Because if you printed this on anything thicker like cardstock or anything, then this little tiny ridge where you're joining the pieces together might show a little bit more. So you can use dot stick or any of the diamond painting glues, or full sheets of double-sided adhesive that you can buy on Amazon. I have both and I've used both, but what you will do is pour some of this on here and spread it out. I'm just going to use my fingers because that's what I have handy here. But but spread it all the way across this canvas. And you might take a couple layers to get it sticky enough, so I'll put one layer on here, let it dry through the evening, and then put a second layer on, and probably by the second layer it'll lay flat a little bit better so that the glue doesn't pool around the edges or anything like that. But I'm making sure I spread it all the way to the edges there, and then let it dry, and it'll dry tacky. And then you can use release paper on it to keep it sticky while you do your diamond painting. And the pattern will have the symbol to DMC color conversion on it. You can also load this into Pattern Keeper if you're familiar with that. I'm not going to go into all that. But here we go. We just use this laminator to make a really pretty diamond painting canvas. All right, I'm back. In the interest of time, I did some of this off camera, and it came out okay, but not the best with my stamping technique. So I used this archival ink with those diamond painting stamps, and I came up with these little ornaments that we are going to run through the laminator to make them a lot more sturdy. So you can do this on cards, but I found that the ink was smearing. So if you wanted to like color these before you put the diamonds on and all that, it might smear a little bit. So I glued these with spray glue to some wrapping paper. This is just basic wrapping paper that I bought at Walmart so that they would have a pretty back to them, and I cut them out. And you want to have them cut out in advance, because in order to seal these into the laminating pouch, you need to have a clear border all the way around. As you saw in the first one, once I cut that clear border, the pages separated. So I went ahead and glued this paper to the back of these after I stamped them, and then I cut them out. So now we can use one of the smaller, let's see if I can find it here. We'll use this smaller pouch here, and we can put these inside the pouch as we did before. And since we're going to cut them out, they don't have to be in there like all nice and neat. And we're going to run this through the laminator here. Here we go. And I didn't diamond paint them yet. I want these to be more sturdy. So I was going to move that so that you could see it. I probably should have moved it before I ran it through. But there, it's coming out the other end here. And we are done. So I'm going to let it cool here for a second. So those are our two ornaments. Let me move this out of the way. And it has stayed heated the whole time while I've been working on it. Nice and warm. Good for a winter warmth. Okay, so here we have two ornaments that are now sealed in there. I can cut them out without breaking the seal. You want to leave a little bit of clear border all the way around. And these have now become sturdy ornaments. And if I wanted to poke a hole to hang them, I would probably leave a little bit more here at the top, since the diamond painting here goes all the way to the top. I'll leave a little more space up here so that I can hang them. And if you look at something a little bit thicker like this, hopefully you can see this. You can see where it's not sealed there right up against the edge and where the seal starts. So you want to be sure to cut it where it is sealed in there really good so that they don't separate. But since I glued them ahead of time, that should help as well. So I'm going to cut this out, and then we would go through the same process. I'm not going to be real neat right now. Just get it cut out here around the edge. Leave a little bit at the top to poke a hole. And now I have another diamond painting canvas. And you can do the same with the other one. And now I can use the glue stick, or I can use the one that came with this kit here, which it's the same general stuff, just a different brand here. So this is Crystal Art Magic Glue that came with it. And we'll see if it's open before... yes, I believe it is here. Yes. so I can spread the glue stick on there. That's probably a little bit much. It's a little bit thicker than the other brand I was using, so we'll wipe some of that off. Oh, I love making messes with crafty things. I'm very good at it. My poor table. So we'll let that dry, and then it'll dry clear, and when it dries clear, that means it's ready for the diamonds. And we can put diamonds on that, and it'll be a nice sturdy ornament here since it's laminated, instead of a thin piece of paper or cardstock that could easily get messed up. So that's a good use for the laminator, and it seemed to work with the small sheets very well. Alright, while our glue is drying, we're going to talk about cross-stitch patterns. And I kind of alluded to this in the intro, that a lot of times we get these budget-friendly stamped cross-stitch kits that have the pattern printed on this paper that is not waterproof. So if you get your pattern wet, it can smear. So these are good for laminating so that you can protect them from getting wet. You can cut apart a larger pattern and do it in pieces if you need to. But this is another quick and easy project, but I'm going to test how this paper works when it goes through the heat. If maybe the ink stays on there, hopefully we'll find out. So I've got it here in the laminator pouch, and we will run it through with the heat, and hopefully it will work. So again, you could cut up a larger pattern into pieces so that it fits on in these different sheets, and run it through, and that'll protect your pattern. And another reason you might want to laminate a cross-stitch pattern is if you don't have software like Pattern Keeper and you want to keep track of what you've done and what you haven't, but you don't want to ruin the pattern, you can laminate any cross-stitch pattern and then use markers like the kind that you use on overhead projectors. I think, boy, I'm aging myself, overhead projectors. Vis-a-vis, I think, is a brand marker. You find them with the Expo markers in the stores. Those also write on those white note boards, and you can use those to mark your pattern. So here we go. It seems to have come out okay. Everything looks tightly sealed in there. It didn't mess up the ink at all. So I now have a protected pattern, and I can continue to use this and not worry about it getting wet and getting messed up. So that works really well. So let's try some bookmarks. So here's another project for smaller things. These are a little bit thicker than paper. So far I've done paper. So let's try something a little bit thicker. So these are collage strips of paper, but I thought they'd make good bookmarks. So especially, I love purple. So we'll do purple and a green one. Ooh, we'll do the one with the butterfly there. And there are several in here, but I'll just choose maybe 3 or 4 here. And we can laminate these. We'll try the 5x7 page here. Oh, well, it can only fit a couple, I think, in this size. Let's see. Yeah, we can fit about 3 across there easily, because you don't want to put them too close together, because you need to keep that sealing, the seal between them, not the ceiling, that's above us. But you need to keep that seal, so you want to leave a little bit of cutting space. Here, I'm off camera, aren't I? Let me get this moved here. But you want to leave enough space so that you can cut them apart and they still maintain their seal, so that they have enough border so that they don't come apart when you cut them. So that's probably good there, about 1 centimeter in between each one, and I maybe could fit the 4th one across the bottom there. There we go. We can do that. Now the tricky part with something like this is keeping them from moving while you move your paper. I think we got it there. And we will be cutting these apart so they don't have to be perfectly aligned in there. Just enough to make sure that there's enough border. So I'm holding that last one so it doesn't kind of flip out there since it's sideways. And this is a very quick laminator, so it kind of has that milky look before it goes through. And here we go. We now have 4 really nice junk journal bookmarks. Now what you could even do, since those are pretty thick, that's 1 layer. Let's try 2 layers here. So we'll let that sit and we'll put one back to back and see how well that goes through. And then we'll have a double layer bookmark. So we're gonna run through all of these sheets here by the end of this project, but that's okay. So I'm gonna line these 2 up very carefully because I can't exactly move them once it starts going through. So it looks like I got a little bit of an edge. It may be easier to glue them together like I did with the ornament before you run them through. But we'll see if we can get this thicker double-sided one to run through and hold. So these are 3mm thick pouches, but you can buy the even thicker 5mm ones. And I've been running everything through just once, but you could run it through twice just to make sure the seal is good. But just looking at these, I see no bubbles, no signs of any troubles here with these. So I think running through once seems to be just fine. Okay, so here we go. So this was thicker because it was double-sided. But now we have a double-sided bookmark, and hopefully you can see the edge there of where you'd want to cut. You want to leave for the thicker pages just a little bit more of a border. But this is where your paper cutter, we'll use that in a minute, and the corner rounder can be useful. Okay, sorry about that. I had some spilling going on off the side of the table. But let's say you have an old pattern like I do here for a nativity set from a really old cross-stitch magazine. I bought this copy on Etsy, but it came in these pieces here, and it's that really thin paper. So I definitely want to protect these. So of course, the best way to protect them is to laminate them. Pretty straightforward. But if you're a junk journaler, you run into a lot of old magazines and ephemera and stuff that may be a little more fragile. And those are good things to laminate. So this is US magazine width here. And it fits perfectly in these sheets. So I'm going to run this page through and see if we can kind of flatten out those creases while we're at it. And that should protect this little nativity pattern from any future harm so that it lasts another 50 years. It's not quite that old, but it should last a long time. Now I'm going to try something else here. So these, I'm hoping, are see-through on both sides. So I got these at the craft store. Not quite, but they'll still work in the interest of time here for what I want to do. I'm going to put a few of these in between one of these smaller pouches, and we'll run it through. I found the sticky spot on my table, it looks like. There we go. So I'm going to put the butterfly, the bird. I'm going to give them a little more space because these are going to end up being specimen cards. And I want a flower here. So I'll just pick 4 of these. And I gave them some space here. And let me straighten that up just a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to run this through as well. And I'll show you why in a minute. So clear that out. get these out of the way. I had 3 blinking lights there on it because I've had it on for a while. So I went ahead and turned it off and back on. Got so many of these. These are pretty thick plastic. So I'm curious, I don't think they'll melt in between the sheets here, but the outside of the sheets, if they do melt, should protect the laminator from any potential damage here. So I've got these 4 little specimens that we're going to turn into specimen cards. Let me straighten that bird out a little bit more while we wait. And also, I found this, which is 30 pieces of collage paper, which is usually really, really thin. See how thin it's like tissue paper? You can laminate that to keep it safe and a little bit thicker and more useful if you want to do something other than use it for a collage. And then one last thing I think that we have time for. This video will go a bit long here. I'm just going to set these up. Okay, it's ready for this one. I'm going to straighten it out just a little bit more. There we go. So we'll run this through and see how it works for tissue paper. It should be pretty straightforward because tissue paper is so thin. I have these, which you typically find in the resin section of the stores. And these are real flowers and plants that you can actually stick in resin to make resin art. Okay, so that one's done. And now it can go in a junk journal like that. I'm going to run our little plastic critters through here. Now these are not real plants, obviously. These are just plastic. I'm curious to see if they try to melt in there. How hot is too hot? And then we have our plants here that we can run through. So we have several different choices here. We'll take a 4-leaf clover. Those are always fun. Okay, so here we go. We can see there's a little bit, because these are thicker, there's a little bit extra border there that we'll have to cut around, but I actually wanted to cut these into squares. So we'll look at that in a minute. In the meantime, let's do some plants here. So these are usually really thin. I've gotten these before for some other resin crafts. And this does come with tweezers if you want to be more careful, but we're going to create a few good luck 4-leaf clovers. And maybe this plant. It's kind of long there. I'll pick something else that's not quite so long. My pack here that has flowers in it. And we'll see how well these will flatten out. How about this nice red flower right there on the edge? We'll stick that in here as well. So these are real flowers and plants, so they do have a little bit of thickness to them, more so than paper. Get the dog hair out of there. We don't want that. Okay. And now we will run this one through. So we've been doing quite a bit of laminating here. I did turn it off that one time, but it's staying warm. And everything's going through nice and quick. There we go. We'll put our plants off to the side because we're definitely going to make more of those. I love those in junk journals. And hopefully my arm's not too much in the way. So there we go. We have made our 4-leaf clovers, and the flower is pretty white on the back. I guess that was dyed, maybe, and that's why it's white on the other side, but that's okay. And maybe one last thing I want to try while we're at this. I might as well. No, I'm not going to try this because I just remembered I have this cardboard diamond painting here, but that's too thick. That is definitely too thick to run through a laminator there, so that will not work. Okay, I waited till the end here to go through this one last laminating test I want to do, and that is a diamond painting. Now this is one of the ones that I found at Hobby Lobby. It's done on cardboard instead of fabric. Here it's supposed to be a square box frame, but I took the box apart so that I'd have a flat diamond painting, and I'm just kind of curious. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with this, so it's okay if this doesn't work. But if you've ever wondered about laminating any diamond paintings, I would not do any special drill ones because they are too thick, and I may be taking a small chance here trying this, but this way you all can find out if this is going to work or not. So I'm going to try running this through and see how thick it can go. Oops, I'm having a hard time keeping it nice and flat. There we go, we got it to grab. So this may be a do not try this at home experiment, but we'll see. It's actually going through. It hasn't fussed at me, although it is making some crinkly sounds as it goes through. There. Well, look at that. Well, you can't see it. I'm letting it go all the way through. It is not perfect, but it has gone through okay. The diamonds did not melt, but as you can see, because this is a textured item here, it is a little bit wrinkly, so we can at the very least cut this bottom part off where it's definitely wrinkly so we can take a closer look at what we have here. So I think part of the trick with trying to put a diamond painting through is to make sure that the laminating pouch is nice and straight on there, but I'm not sure you can completely get that wrinkle out because you're doing something that is pretty dimensional. So let's cut it out and see. So not perfect there. It is definitely wrinkly there. It didn't seal like around the diamonds because where it seals is around the edges where the plastic touches the plastic. So you're not going to get a seal onto the diamonds. But it did go through, at least. It is covered, but I don't recommend trying to do this for diamond painting. It was just a curiosity. So what I'm going to do now, I don't know if you want to sit through, I may edit the rest of this out, is take some of these things and turn them into other things. So we can use the paper cutter here that came with the kit here, and we can tend to prefer going through on this side just so I can see where that line is a little bit better. And we can trim around our bookmarks here, and we have some nice bookmarks. So there's that one, and we have 4 laminated bookmarks, and then you can use the corner trimmer and trim these a little bit better. I'm just being quick here. But you can use the corner trimmer so that the corners aren't quite so pokey. But the other thing I wanted to show you is the idea of these specimen cards. So I'm going to cut these out a little bit more carefully and try to get a little more even into a square here. So we have our little 4-leaf clovers. And you can buy like sets of just 4-leaf clovers on Amazon. I bought packages of 100 of them before. I'm gonna cut this into a square. So here is my 4-leaf clover. And I found these little cards because I was going for pre-made and quick. You can make your own, of course. Make your own little frames, cut out the inside and the outside of a square, but these were already pre-made, quick and easy. Trim the edge on that one. So you can glue this on the back side and trim this. So I will do that real quick with my Fabri-Tac. And we will have a nice specimen card with a 4-leaf clover. And if you wanted the back, trim the laminating plastic. And there we go. We have a special encased 4-leaf clover. This would be perfect to go in a junk journal. Really cool. I love the idea of specimen cards. I just find them kind of hard to make without having a laminator to encase your little item there. And you could do the same. This is almost see-through. I'll probably not use a frame in that. I'm not sure what I want to do with that yet. I'll have to think about that. We also have our little butterfly here. Move those off to the side. Yes, that'll work. And I could glue this on the back. And then we have a little butterfly specimen card there. Now this butterfly is not decorated on the back. You can buy double-sided stickers. I just couldn't find any at Hobby Lobby when I looked the other day. Or you could take 2 butterflies and put them back to back if you have 2 of the same. So those are really cool. And then of course we have our pattern here. It's kind of rolled up at the end after it's been cooling off for a little bit, so we can trim that. And we have our protected pattern here, so we can save that. We have our double-sided bookmark. Here we go. Nice laminated bookmark. And of course our cross-stitch pattern. I can leave that as it is. And I think I buried our diamond painting ornament. And finally we have our diamond painting ornament. It's still drying. It's still just a little bit milky there. So I'll hopefully finish that and show a picture another time, or maybe stick it as the front picture of this video once I'm done. And then we have our cross-stitch pattern turned into a diamond painting here. It's not quite as sticky as I would like, so that was with 1 coat of the sticky glue, so I'll put a 2nd coat on that and maybe do a little diamond painting and show you at another time. And then again, although it goes through okay, I would not seal a diamond painting in a laminated pouch because the 3-dimensional diamonds are just going to make it all wrinkly. So that's not a good idea. But you can come up with all sorts of ideas and things to turn paper into dimensional things here that you can hang, or all sorts of crafts. I kind of like the bookmarks and the specimen cards. I think those are my favorites here, especially the 4-leaf clover. I really like how that came out. So thank you, Qfun, for letting me play around with this laminator. I will continue to play around with it some more. Let me go ahead and turn it off because it is making that clicking sound. I'll let it cool off. But there's so many things you can do with the laminator, and the fact that it comes with the corner punch here, as well as the hole punch and the paper cutter, and all those laminating pouches that we just had fun with, and I still have plenty more. So really nice set here. So I'm going to put a link to this below from Amazon. There are probably some other companies out there that may sell it. I just know that Amazon does, and that's the link they showed me when they were asking me about doing this review. So I do thank Qfun, and check it out. This is actually very pretty. It's very stylish if you worry about accessories in your craft room. Looks really nice and seems to work really well and very fast. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.